Now, when trying to bridge the gap from being an elite team to a superstar team, or an average team to an elite team, or if you don't even play competitive and you just want to get better and improve your general gameplay on a day-to-day basis, it's essential that you're watching your own VODs. Now, commonly, from speaking to a lot of the best pro players, some of the most accomplished players in our scene, I figured out that a lot of them don't actually watch their own VODs anymore. Now, to that point, some of them have told me that they used to watch every single game, every single VOD, and then as soon as they started winning and becoming the top, they stopped watching their own VODs, which I guess makes sense because part of the advantage of being at the top in any field is that it's in a lot of scenes at least, and I'd say in our scene as well, it's easier to maintain being the top than to actually bridge the gap to be the top, because the thing is, the people at the top are always working hard. Their work rate maintains at a general pace. So if you're below them, to overtake them, you have to do more than them to try and catch up, right? Which is really hard. If you're trying to catch up with Mongra and he's there doing 10 hours of creative a day, very difficult, right? Now, this applies in everything. If you look at Counter-Strike, when Olaf Master was the best player in CSGO in around 2017, he would openly say he doesn't watch his own VODs back. He wouldn't even DM. He wouldn't even DM to warm up. So in any aspects, a lot of the top don't necessarily watch their own VODs. So this is an advantage for someone who wants to be the top to catch up and to bridge that gap, right? Now, the biggest problem when people are trying to watch their own VODs is that a lot of people will, or instead of watching their own VODs, actually, let's get to this first. So instead of watching their own VODs, a lot of people actually just be in the game playing, and they'll be like, oh, I made a mistake. Okay, I know for next time not to do that. No. Just knowing the mistake you made, or identifying and saying it out loud, I made this mistake, doesn't actually help you to fix that mistake, right? It literally does not help at all. If you're playing in a squad and your teammate and you call out a mistake to one of your teammates and they say, okay, yeah, I know. No, that's not going to necessarily help you, right? Because in the moment when you come into that situation again, it's no guarantee that that's actually going to change. The way to actually change that, right, is to go back into the VOD, understand what led you to that mistake, and then identify how you're going to go about practicing to fix that mistake. If you make a mistake in game, a lot of the time, to actually fix it, you have to change the way you practice. You have to go into scrims, constantly practicing and working on that one specific mistake in order to actually fix it, right? Now, a big thing that I have a problem with when watching VODs with people, because there's been times I've tried to help certain friends and players who are trying to come up and watch VODs back with them, is that people oftentimes, very often in fact, want to watch VODs and just watch their specific part of the VOD. So we'll get into a game with someone and they'll be like, okay, skip to 4:35. This is where I start my engagement. No. We're going to watch the whole game, analyze the whole game, and figure out what led you to certain parts, how did this lead to this, etc., etc. How did everything join together to make the game as its whole? Just looking at your own parts and when you make plays and where certain things happen isn't going to help you identify how to fix those things, because you're in that moment. Maybe it's a mid-game engagement that you find yourself running into a lot and it's causing you to waste too much material, the high-populated area. You're not going to just skip to that engagement when we're watching your own VOD and be like, okay, what do I do here to avoid it? No, you have to go back to the start of the game and figure out how your loop path and the timing of your loop pathing and how you rotate actually affected how you get into that engagement and what angles you can take, etc., etc. It's about watching the whole thing and putting it together as one. Famous example of this, which I actually took from foreign, and I actually just know myself because I'm a fan of basketball, but Kobe Bryant, one of the greatest basketball players ever, he was coached by Phil Jackson in his earlier days, and Phil Jackson had an assistant coach called Tex Winter. Tex Winter is no longer alive. Legendary NBA coach, so innovative. I'm not going to go into that. But essentially, Tex Winter was helping Kobe watch back his own VODs. They don't call it VODs in basketball, they call it tape. And Kobe, the first time they ever did this together, Kobe was like, okay, here's where I get the ball. Let's skip to here where I get the ball. Watch this play. Tess was like, no. We're going to watch from the start of the game. Watch what your teammates do, how you respond to what your teammates do. Watch every single part of the game, and that's going to help us to figure out now what to change when practicing so that you don't make those same mistakes again, right? It's a big deal when figuring out what's wrong with figuring out the precursors to what's wrong, because then you can change that in your practice, right? Just knowing what you did wrong will not help you to fix anything at all. Now, sorry, I was interrupted there. Going back to what I was saying along the lines of improving and figuring out how to practice, it's important to figure out the little macro key small things that actually lead to certain other parts of the game, right? Now, it doesn't take a Destiny's Jesus to come in and analyze everything, the big, it's just a simple thing. It's the core fundamentals of the game. Look back at the angles you take when peaking, the timing of your re-peaks, what little edits you do to get certain different angles, where you position yourself, the timing of when you position yourself, figuring out the players around you, how you position yourself around the people around you. Like, it's all these small different things that are just the core basic fundamentals of the game that will help you to elevate your game to the next level. Now, within a squad context, it's important that you're not bombarding your teammates with, hey, this is a small mistake, do it in game, because the problem is that that's how you have confidence issues, right? Now, if you say to your teammate, hey, stop doing this when you're tunneling, now the next game, he's going to second guess himself. If he's put in a position where he has to path and tunnel, he's going to be questioning, what do I necessarily do, because last time I got it wrong. He's going to second guess himself, and that puts you guys in a worse position when not everybody has this right confidence levels. You're not going to be successful, right? So instead of bombarding people with different mistakes in game and saying, oh, you made this mistake here, you made this mistake here, you wait till practice, you all come together, watch the VOD with each other, and you say, here's this mistake, how do we practice to make sure we avoid that mistake again next time, right? The key point I'm making here is practice, right? Because a lot of squads scrim all day long. When the scrims, I don't even pay attention to where people scrim anymore, but people scrim all day long. They identify, oh, we made this mistake here, go into tournament day and have the same problems. Well, why do you think that is, man? Why do you think that is? You have to go back and watch your VODs together and practice, right? It's the whole point of scrims is that you use them to practice. And when you're doing this, right, don't figure out 20 mistakes that you're making and try implement all the corrections at once. That's not going to help. That literally it's just like in any aspect of life, right? If you try to change 20 aspects of how you live, I'm gonna go to bed at 9 o'clock every day, I'm gonna make sure I take 3 showers a day at 4, 8 and 2, I'm gonna eat, but no, it's not gonna work. You have to implement things one by one. You know, you figure out one big mistake you're making, you work on that mistake for the next 1 or 2 weeks, right? And you just make sure that when you're scrimming, when you're practicing, you are consistently focusing on that specific point so that you make sure that works next time. I think my good friend Bala did a while ago. I don't know if he's done this recently, but he was doing VOD reviews. It was back when he used to do more just public VOD reviews of anybody. And it was a stream where he literally was just watching people's VODs and he was just identifying the biggest mistake they made within the whole VOD. Yeah, in a lot of those VODs he was watching, there were multiple mistakes people were making, but he just identified the one big mistake. When you're looking back on your VOD, look at the one big mistake you made. Look at the one thing that caused you to not win the game, right? Obviously, with the new meta, with how things, have changed in the game, it may be a bit harder for people to figure those things out. But as long as you can just identify one key mistake, and it's a lot of the time it's a mistake that is a consistent mistake that people are making, and you just work on that. You make sure that in your scrims, you're practicing and focusing on that one thing. Don't take a loss of scrims as, we're trash, man, it's not working. This isn't going to work. No, you use your scrims to make sure you focus on that one specific mistake so that when it comes to tournament day, that mistake's not made. And hey, now, you move on to the next one. Next mistake you're making. And you go through slowly and make sure you're fixing that. This is what's going to help you elite teams to elevate yourselves to become the best teams in EU. This is what's going to help the average teams to become elite teams, because, hey, look, the top players in EU, some of the top players in NA that I've spoken to, they're not doing these things, right? So this is your chance to bridge that gap and your chance to catch up. And if you really want to take the next level, take your game to the next level, this is what's going to help. Because yes, it will be boring. And yeah, you're not going to see instant improvement. It's not going to feel like, oh, we're just becoming the best team instantly. No, it's not going to feel like that, right? But eventually, it's what's going to help you to become one of those teams. It's these small little macro things that come together to help you to become one of the most elite teams in the world.